if you're a person who takes notes, write this down. This is the most important thing. We have to find more fear, learn how to use it as fuel, and scare ourselves every day.
Patrick Sweeney has built an amazing life based on fear. Fear. He left the technology world behind after a life-changing event and is now a professional adventurer with a mission to help others find more fear in their life.
Fear is probably the least understood, yet most powerful force we can tap into.
He is a rock star in a whole bunch of things.
From a second-place finish in the Olympic rowing trials to founding 3 tech companies.
Patrick is the first person to attempt cycling the 7 summits, the highest peak on each continent.
Patrick's done a lot of things that together don't exist usually in one person in terms of experience and accomplishment. That gives him a unique perspective, and I think he's come up with an interesting way to talk about fear and turning it into something else.
Please welcome the fear guru himself, an expert in creating a culture of courage, Mr. Patrick Sweeney.
So we're going to find more fear, we're going to feed it. You can use fear to make radically better decisions. And if you want to hear the neuroscience, the psychology, and a shortcut to save you about 30 years of pain and suffering, say I.
There's a small gland at the base of our brain called the amygdala, and it handles the 3 F's.
So you have a fight, flight, or freeze response as a little kid to save your life. The amygdala has been there for thousands and thousands of years to keep us from getting eaten by a woolly mammoth or trampled over or getting torn apart by a saber-toothed tiger. That's what the amygdala does. That's the great thing about it. But it was meant for a society and a world hundreds of thousands of years ago. The amygdala doesn't care about your happiness. It doesn't care about your success. It doesn't care about your future. It just cares about passing genes on to the next generation and keeping the race alive. The good news is, if we hack that amygdala, we can use it for superhuman performance. We get about 10% of our information from the conscious world. 90% of it is going into the amygdala, and we don't even see that it's going on, and we don't even recognize it. Now you guys, everyone out there, get your phones ready. This is an Instagrammable moment, because this is their chance to shine. They can be stars now. Everyone can remember them as being the highlight of the Bixie conference. Or they could be tremendous failures. They could terribly embarrass themselves up here. People could be talking about it forever. They could lose their relationship, maybe even lose their job. But don't think about that. You ready? Here we go.
What just happened is something amazing that our body does. Our mind just did something incredible.
What we just saw up here with those people, with Charlene's beating heart and Kyle's sort of tension in the shoulders and that sort of thing, are what I call fear tells.
So what I want everyone to think about in the audience is what physical sensations you're feeling in your body, because this is going to be really important.
What I was surprised at during the talk ultimately was feeling things. There's very few talks where you actually get to, the speaker makes you physically feel something and identify those feelings, which is really cool. And I think
we created a change in our body. Nothing happened in the world. There was no threat, no fear up here. The roof wasn't going to collapse. There weren't people coming in with guns and bombs. But our mind is so powerful that created a change physically in our body. That can be used for something very good, an amazing performance, or that can be used for something very bad and really hurt you from a health perspective.
I thought Patrick's talk was very inspirational. The way he challenges us to face our fears and recognize our fears and seize our fears is not something that many people talk about. So I don't think that most people know how to recognize those symptoms, let alone rein them in, embrace them, and then use them to your advantage.
For 30 years, I lived with this terrible fear of flying. Every time I got on board or anywhere near an aircraft, I got more and more scared. And one thing that I found is this cowardice begets cowardice.
And I'm thinking, well, why am I sitting here? I used to be afraid of everything. I lived my entire life in shame and fearful and running from